Hey guys, it's Rachel. It's Thankful Thursday, and you've got me this week. This week we're looking at the issue of self-esteem, and I think it's probably something that's been covered a few times, but this week we're going to specifically try and look at ways to build self-esteem. And I think the kind of idea came from Elena, and it was kind of inspired by something that Felicia had done concerning how getting outside and going on her walks and stuff with her dog and taking pictures actually really helped lift her and feel better about herself. Maybe this is a very personal feeling, but I do very much believe that self-esteem is very closely linked to self-worth, and that generally, again, people may disagree with this, but if you have a low self-esteem, you tend to not think too much of yourself, struggle with confidence and kind of a degree of self-worth, and it therefore leaves you quite vulnerable, because your kind of impression is that other people deserve good things and you don't really. And I think that that's kind of synonymous with eating disorders. They do batter our self-esteem, our self-worth. They certainly don't enhance it, and in the process of recovery it does become very difficult. For me, when I first started to recover, I certainly didn't feel I deserved to recover, and I didn't feel I deserved to live a full and kind of productive and happy and content life, and it was a real wall that I came up against time and time again. And it was down to, sometimes it used to include really silly things like, getting dressed up and going out for dinner, and it was kind of like, I don't deserve to go out and have a good time, There was kind of this part of me that was like self-sabotaging, and it was kind of like, you don't deserve that, so I would stay in, and kind of not feel sorry for myself. I just didn't feel worthy of kind of people's time, really. I'm incredibly fortunate because I had a huge amount of support from my mum, and she would kind of say to me, look, come on, you'll come out, you'll have a good time, and this is what this is about. It's about taking steps, it's about doing something different than you would normally do. And it was by listening to other people, and this is something I mentioned when we talked about people pleasing, and certainly not people pleasing, sorry, when we talked last week about taking advice. And I kind of watched Tracy's video this week, and she talked a lot about not feeling worthy of her own advice, and that it's fine when it's applied to other people, but not so much herself. And I think that self-esteem and self-worth issues follow a similar pattern, because I think that what can happen is that we believe that other people deserve to recover and have a good life and have people treat them well, and yet we don't feel that we are worthy of that. And that's the trap with an eating disorder, really, is that as long as you're in the eating disorder, you are not going to particularly have a great self-esteem, and you're not going to think too greatly of yourself. I think that initially didn't really happen for me, but I know a lot of people, when they first lose weight, feel incredibly kind of high and have somewhat grandiose ideas, and that's kind of comes from the starvation and the lack of sleep and all the rest of it, and it's kind of like you're bouncing off the walls a little bit. So I think that there is an element of eating disorders making us feel kind of special in that way, because we're achieving something, and it's like, I can actually do something. But that doesn't last very long, and very, very quickly it becomes something incredibly negative. Not that I'm saying it's necessarily anything positive to begin with, but as your eating disorder goes on, and then you're down the line, and it's like 5 years later, 10 years later, 15 years later, 20 years later, it certainly doesn't become that anymore. And it becomes kind of like an abusive relationship, and as long as you're in that abusive relationship, you're going to feel like shit about yourself, because the abuser of your eating disorder is treating you like shit. And the only way out of that, and the only way to build self-esteem, is to therefore recover. And that doesn't mean that you suddenly feel great about yourself after sort of a few days of trying to like get better and stuff, but it does mean that recovery is challenging. Recovery is active. We have to actively recover, or we don't recover. We have to be making steps and making progress, and sometimes we stop and we stay at that bit for a while and then we move forward again, and of course there's times when we move backwards. And I think quite often what people are afraid of when it comes to recovery is that because they have a low self-esteem or self-worth, they actually are scared of failing at recovery, and instead focus on their eating disorder because it's maybe the one thing they actually feel good about. And I think that a lot of people with eating disorders are also incredibly intelligent and articulate people, and there's this kind of fear that if they let go of their disorder, that they're going to lose that element, because one of the ways people manage their eating disorders or that kind of destructiveness is also by being academically, sport, in a number of different fields, by excelling. And I think when I recovered, I was very afraid of losing that edge, because, you know, when I was kind of anorexic, I mean, I got to a point where I was so poorly that I didn't function. But, you know, there were times when I did excel, and I kind of linked that to my weight, and that was kind of a really difficult thing to let go of. But what I did realise was that I was making myself feel better by achieving things that in the grand scale of things didn't really matter. And so, you know, getting a first class honours was a way of feeling good about myself, and by that point I actually allowed myself to feel good about it because I'd worked so hard and I'd been in recovery at the same time. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that you can recover and still, you know, be successful and have that stuff, and actually, rather than feeling like crap that you don't get 100% all the time, feel good for what you are achieving and for what you are succeeding in, because recovery takes a lot of energy. So if you're able to do something alongside that, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. These things, activities, are going to build you up, meeting new people and engaging in things, but not engaging in things that drain you or exhaust you, but things that you take pleasure in. And I think quite often that's the key to building self-esteem, is to do things that you enjoy. Because I think that if I think about my photography, when I was doing really, really well a few years ago, I took a lot of pictures, and I was critical, but not to the point where I just would completely hammer down on myself. And over the years, when I've had periods of difficulty, I've thought, right, my photography really helps me. I've just slated myself for any of the pictures I've taken. And what actually happened a few weeks ago when we had a huge amount of snow is I just took my camera and went out and took pictures, and I didn't put any pressure on myself to do anything magnificent. And it just came very, very naturally because I'd removed that pressure from myself. And I kind of looked at my pictures, and it was a nice way to build myself up a little bit. And I think that that's what it is, and we all have different, you know, talents, and they maybe need to be explored, you know. Have a go at things, and it doesn't matter if you're not brilliant at it, you know, but try to do things that do make you feel better about yourself. And when that voice is there saying that you don't deserve good things, or you're not worthy of, for me certainly it was, you know, you don't deserve to eat, you don't deserve to be healthy, you don't deserve to have people who love and care for you, is to listen to those people who are saying, well, actually you do deserve that, and I love you and I care about you, and you deserve that, you're a good person, you know, and you do. I have this issue with kind of my girlfriend and stuff, with her struggling with this whole kind of idea and this concept of someone caring and loving her. And I have to be patient myself, because I know that for her it's a huge big step to be able to accept that care. But in doing that, in accepting that somebody does actually give a shit about her, it's going to build her up, and it might take a long, long time to do that. But I think that by surrounding ourselves by people who inspire us and make us feel good about ourselves and who we are and what we are, it is really the key to recovery and the key to boosting our self-esteem. So that's kind of my main advice, is to really try and engage in a variety of different activities, kind of find your niche really, and we all have different, we all have talents in different things, and it doesn't matter what it is, you know, you might be great with kids, go and spend some time with kids, do things that you actually get something out of, and they aren't about a grade or a mark or an achievement in that way, but it's something you feel good. Of course it is great to focus on things as well that do achieve something, but that doesn't have to be the only focus. And then my other advice is to surround yourself by people who make you feel good about yourself. A lot of us engage in quite negative relationships, whether that's family, friends or partners, and I know that that's difficult to break away from, but it is about finding our worth and kind of saying, I deserve to be treated better than that, and in doing that you are going to boost that. So, you know, listen to the people who do love you and care for you, and if they're saying you are good enough and that you do deserve good things, try and listen to that. Okay guys, I hope I made some sense in that, and I'll see you next week. Okay, bye.